Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Club Paradise podcast. I'm your host, Chris Cataldo. Today, I thought it'd be interesting, since no one really seems to give these projects much interest or, thought. I thought it'd be a fun place to start for beginning our analysis here on the Club Paradise podcast. Today, I want to go through, it's going to be a double episode of Drake's Room for Improvement, as well as Comeback Season. I'm going to give a full disclaimer right now. I know it's really important to note. I listen to these projects so that you guys really didn't have to. These projects are rough, they're raw, they're long, you're welcome to try, but truthfully, it was a struggle to make my way through both of these projects to be able to do the write-up for this episode. So, you're welcome to it. We'll get into it. There are some diamonds in the rough here, very few diamonds in the rough, but, I do not advise it at the end of the day. Room for Improvement is Drake's debut mixtape released in 2006. It features 22 tracks, where he remixed several songs from artists such as Trey Songz and Lupe Fiasco. The mixtape showcases Drake's unique blend of rapping and singing, as well as his talent for storytelling and introspection. The project displays his versatility and lyrical prowess as he delivers introspective lyrics over soul and jazzy beats, showcasing his ability to blend in musical genres. The mixtape highlights Drake's potential, even in its early stages, and provides a glimpse into the artist he would become. Overall, Room for Improvement is a solid introduction to Drake's music and style, laying the groundwork for his future success in the music industry. Comeback Season is the second official mixtape released by Drake the very next year in 2007. The mixtape features guest appearances from Trey Songz and remixes of artists such as Lupe Fiasco and Rich Boy. The mixtape is notable for being one of Drake's earliest works and providing insight to his early sound and style. The mixtape showcases Drake's ability to blend singing and rapping, which has become a signature of his work. The themes of the mixtape revolve around love, relationships, and personal struggles. While the mixtape did not achieve commercial success, it was recognized and helped Drake establish presence in the music industry. Overall, Comeback Season is considered an essential release in Drake's discography and a necessary milestone in his rise to fame. Okay. So for this breakdown, we're going to start with Room for Improvement. I'm going to run through the categories of the album, and then after that, we're going to go into Comeback Season. And we're going to go through it pretty fast because there's a good amount of content to cover here, and at the end of the day, it is two albums. But truthfully, there wasn't enough to make them their own episodes, so let's get into it. So at the beginning of each project, I like to let you guys know the sense of the feel of what kind of Drake we were looking at in this production, because project to project, he really varies on his overall themes, motives, feelings throughout. So when I was listening to Room for Improvement, I really got this sense he was a very kind of youthful, hyped up. He was trying to be sensual. He was trying to do the whispering thing, but he also babbled a lot while he was going on his verses. So that would make it a youthful, hyped up, sensual, whispering, babbling Drake, which is the type of Drake we're working with in this project. Really, the guy's just doing a little bit too much, a little bit too fast. He's trying to get a little bit of everything crammed into this project, and I think that really hurt the project across the board. I mean, like we said, it's 23 tracks long, and it's just super duper jam-packed, very dense, which is really indicative of rap at the time. You had a lot of long, lengthy verses going on, and to me, it's hard to kind of appreciate it for what it is for that reason. The verses are very wordy-gurdy, and they're just wrapped out a little too fast, so it's really hard to keep up with what's going on in the content. He still didn't have that iconic kind of Drake flow worked out yet. And he finds it as this, project moves, but it's not really established the way we know it today. Obviously, it couldn't be. It's his first project. But you see little glimmers of it, but it's not what you think it would be, unfortunately. And he tries to work with it. He tries different flows throughout, and it doesn't come together really the way you need it to. Really, there's not a lot of bangers. It's really hard to jam to some of these songs, and that's really the problem. There's not a lot of commercial viability here, so I think that's why a lot of the project did not take off. Kind of a sign of the times. It's hard because, this is still a year and a half before Kanye's Graduation comes out, and to me, Graduation is such a pivotal part of hip-hop. It changes really the mainstream of hip-hop as a whole. It really tries to, because when Kanye was making Graduation, he really set it out to be stadium anthems, radio bangers. Like, that was a full intent for that project. And as we all know, as we'll get into, So Far Gone is heavily based off of the Kanye theme and his general style. So, we didn't have Graduation yet, and we didn't get So Far Gone yet. So, this is still 2006. It's kind of indicative of the time. So when you're breaking it down, it makes sense that the project sounds this way, but it's really no excuse because it's just not that good, unfortunately. So the first category we're going to get to is absurd lines. There is a ton of crazy, absurd lines in this project. I mean, you got to think about it. Drake had nothing to lose here. He was just putting it all out there and hoping something would stick. And, it's a mixtape. It's free music. He can put out whatever he wants. He doesn't have to go by the label. He doesn't have to ask any permissions. He just puts it out. So you'll see a lot of Nicholas F. appear on this project. A very big early collaborator on these first two projects was Nicholas F. We'll get into him in a little bit. But so this first setup is going to be on the Money remix with Nicholas F. And these two lines are from Nicholas F. These absurd lines. This guy just makes it hard sometimes because he just lets it fly to such an absurd amount. First line's here.
Trying to make it just to burn it. Milk the game, turn it to butter. Look how I turn it. No chick shall get.
I'm not a fan of that. The milking the butter. I don't want to hear you milking anything, Nicholas F. throughout this whole project. That just makes me uncomfortable to listen to it. Not really indicative of the content we're used to seeing on a Drake song. Next one is off of the same song. The second line here.
Just unless she earns it. Take that dick, put to your lips and insert it. Where the hell they?
Like, that's just a silly line. It's a throwaway line. And again, you don't hear a lot of talk like this on Drake albums as we know them today. Then it was a free-for-all. It didn't really matter. So, not my favorite line. I think it's a silly line. It's unnecessary, but it's absurd. It's ridiculous. Next one, we're at AM to PM. And this is another Nicholas F. line. This dude just didn't care. He was letting it fly. And it's absurd, but it's a little funny one.
Quick shot. Now I get your chick hot with my wristwatch. Yeah, sure the drip drop when the TikTok. It's kind of sick.
Like, it's funny. It's a funny line. I like it. I like the rhyme scheme it's got going on there and just painting a picture with a few words. I do like it, but it's just absurd. Like, you can't pop this on and try to serenade a woman with a little Nicholas F in the background. It's just not working. That's not working for him. And the last one here, really, you know what? I don't need to really cue it up at all. Let's get into this one.
Streets are seedy, I call them Sesame, this Ernie in Buckstown. Especially when these youngins get turned down for work opportunities next week. Same place to get burnt down. Coinky dink, not likely, not a chance.
That's bad, man. That's, the meme wasn't around in 2006 when this was recorded, but if you're going to drop a coinky dink in any of your lyrics, you might as well just scrap the whole song. That's not the move here. And it reminds me of the Drake type of guy kind of memes that have been floating around, and you can't really dispute them, unfortunately. But you see an early glimpse of that here today, which is, it doesn't age well. I'm sure Drake could undo that song if he had the choice to do so. For me, it's going to be, out of the ones we just listed, considering the coinky dink is the only thing in this category that Drake actually said, it's got to be the given winner. But even if it wasn't, it would still be the winner of this category, the absurd lines. That's my man, Drizzy, just letting it fly as a young man. All right, now we're going to get into the best lines category. Not much here, truthfully. Like I said, this is not like a very, dialed in project. It's raw. It's very flow. They just did whatever they wanted. So, on this track, Do What You Do, we got Drake. This one I really liked because it was witty, and it's some of the stuff you see coming up later in his other projects. So here we go.
Verses I'm writing, you might want to learn it. You hating my song, but your wife want to burn it. So now you at the store.
I just love that. I love it. Like, it's very witty. It's like, it's that classic kind of like, you're a hater, I don't care kind of mentality. And your wife want to burn it. Obviously referring to burning a CD at the time, which is what people did in 2006. They burned CDs. They pirated music, and they would burn stuff, and it would take all night. You wake up the next day and your CD would be burned. I have very fond memories of childhood of doing that. So this will come up a lot throughout these projects. It's just a relic of a time gone by, which I really like that, some of that stuff is still there, and you can really appreciate it for what it is, because the music atmosphere has changed so much, even in the past, call it 5 to 7 years. It's changed so much with the DSPs, but then it was a whole nother ball game. Music was on a completely different platform. Now I want to get into the feature artist kind of acknowledgement, just so we can kind of get a review of what we're looking at here. So Nicholas F, again, he's prominent on these two projects. He's really, really involved. He's, at the end of the day, he was a pretty influential underground Canadian rapper of the time. He wasn't really interested in getting in the limelight of business. From what I can tell from the research, he really just wanted to rap. He wanted to do it well. He wanted the creative freedom and expression to do so. He didn't really want to be kind of silenced, or not silenced. He didn't really want to be told what he couldn't do, from what I could tell. So he liked it that way. He liked being a man of Toronto. He liked, a mission of putting Toronto on the map. So, God bless you, Nicholas F. You were a catalyst for Aubrey to be able to do what he needed to do, and I totally understand that. So, I appreciate the work you did there, Nick. Big Nick. But at the end of the day, he didn't really find any commercial success. Didn't do anything really worth noting. So, that's all he's going to get in this episode. But, he was a big part of this, and I'm sure he collaborated way more than he puts on with Drake in his early years. And, we probably wouldn't be here without him. Well, Drake probably wouldn't be in the mix the way he was without him. All right, next we have Slacka, the Beat Child. If I'm saying that right, I have no idea. It's phonetically, that's how it looks like it sound. You get a little bit of him on the Bad Meaning Good.
Good. Lady, somebody shot up the place right by where I work, and I think they might be coming for me next. Tell me a Kleenex. I'm telling you, baby.
Yeah, so this is a cute little verse. It's nice. It's kind of to get that sensuality going that we've come to know and love from a Drake song. To me, it doesn't really do the job though. I mean, he holds down this song, Bad Meaning Good, but he really reminds me of like this BJ's brand, the Price Chopper brand, Sampha. He just doesn't do it for me. His performance is a little flat, and it's just definitely not my favorite song on the project. So in another instance here, we have Drake sampling a Lupe Fiasco song, Kick Push, which is a great song. I mean, if you know anything about Lupe Fiasco, especially in 2006, he's a big deal. I mean, he just put out Food and Liquor in 2006, which was a pretty critically acclaimed album at the time. So, it's funny to see, in 2006, Lupe Fiasco is pretty established now, which is so weird to think because, we get Food and Liquor, and then in 2010, he comes out with Lasers, which is pretty good. But after that, you don't hear anything about Lupe Fiasco really ever again. So it's funny and kind of crazy that we're seeing Drake remix a Lupe Fiasco song. And that's just, it's bizarre by today's standards, considering where they ended up. And even when Lasers came out in 2010, or whatever year that came out, I had to fact check that. You already had So Far Gone out in 2009. It's just like, even by So Far Gone, Drake's a superstar compared to Lupe Fiasco. He's the next big thing. And Lupe just kind of like missed his opportunity. He probably got market corrected by Drake a little bit. It's like, how many of these guys do we really need in this kind of role? And I love that, in later projects, this comes up as well a bit. And we can cue up a little Drizzy right here.
Johnny got me pushing 2 plates. My weight up, I refused to wait up. I started a new race. It's funny when you think a nigga blew up after Lupe. Niggas treat me like I've been here for 10.
So, I mean, you did blow up after Lupe, technically, Drizzy, but, we'll give you the pass because you absolutely nuked this man's career after he was all said and done. But even throughout this project, you hear these little like nuggets of stuff that would soon, you'd see to pass in future projects. And additionally, you can see, we talked a little bit about Trey Songz earlier, and if you cue it up, you also get, when you plug in From Time here.
Night I played her 3 songs, then we got to talking about something we disagreed on. Then she start telling me how I never be as big as Trey Songz. Boy, was she wrong. That was just negative energy for me to feed off. Now it's therapeutic.
So, it's fun to see that stuff kind of come back up. And unless you listened to this the way I did, if you go back and you actually listen to this project and you look at the lyrics and you try to analyze it a little bit, you'd never know that this was stuff that came up. So, it's cool to see the little nuggets come back up. Also, as a sidebar for room for improvement, if you go on Rap Genius, there's only been 7,000 views on this album at all, which is practically nothing. I'm pretty sure Comeback Season has more like 90,000. We could check that. I'm probably wrong, but regardless, it's incredible. Like, it's insane that there's a lot here. It's not perfect. It's not that clean, but there's a lot that goes on in this project, and it needs to be acknowledged for what it is. Okay, now we're moving on to the best banger category. Believe it or not, this project actually does have a banger. It's one of the saving graces of this album, probably the saving grace, the number one grace of this project, and that is City Is Mine.
This the record that my backpack underground fans get to skipping. Back southern town fans get to tipping. Chasing fat stacks, running down grands, it's a mission. I don't backtrack, every single sound from me different. I don't own no ice, I just got...
That's the good stuff right there. I mean, that's just... If you don't know City Is Mine, you got to cue it up right now. You got to pause, you got to go. You got to pause this on Spotify, wherever you're watching on. You got to go and listen to this in full length, because this is one of the bangers, man. This is what really got things started for Drake, one of his breakout singles. It really was the start of this man producing singles successfully that really got some acclaim. So now that's the best banger. Next category is there's nothing in contention for best banger, by the way. It's the only one that's up there. Same thing. Next category, best slow kush, which is the best, slowest, tastiest Little Drake songs on the project. Again, there's only one on this project, and this is just a great song. It's simple. It's kind of beautiful in a lot of ways, and it gets that soulfulness that you would see in a lot of later Drake projects. And this is Come Winter.
Yeah, this dedicated to Canada, man.
This man loves Canada.
The whole up north. A lot of people don't realize how cold it gets during the winter.
Tell him, baby.
Listen, I met this new girl late June or early July. I called her a bunch of times, but she barely replied. Now it's December, I'm driving. She like,
this is one of those projects where he really starts to go on these long. This is a really cool song because it goes on a long verse. It does a beat switch up in the middle, which became, one of Drake's iconic things, is a beat switch up to be able to change the whole flow and momentum of the song. And he really gets into it, and it's just, again, a nice, beautiful early example of seeing that in his style. So now here's a couple of things I want to get into with the project, some of the best non-music things with this project. And there's a lot of cool kind of like things of the time, which we'll get into a lot with this subject, is just the era, right? This dude just loves the winter season. It comes up time and time again in his music. I've never met anybody that liked the winter so much. Like, he really, that's how... we love the summer. This man lives for the winter. I guess you kind of have to in Canada because it's just always winter practically up there. Even though Toronto really isn't that far up, it's equal with Buffalo, I'm pretty sure, New York. So it's cold, don't get me wrong, but they they have to romanticize the winter because they're stuck with it. And it's funny. It's really and I respect it. Listen, it's making the best of what you got from what you have. So you know what? I'll let it fly. I've never met anybody that hyped up the winter so much. I love the use of the term swagger. I mean, it had such a short shelf life, maybe from this time, you could look at 04, 05, all the way up to 10, when people were actually using this word. And again, it's just more like a time capsule of what life was kind of like then. So, I respect it. I love to hear it. If you look at the art of the album cover here, it's just Drake sitting on his mom's backyard furniture, and that's the album cover. He's kind of pouting and contemplating the hard things in life, which I just love. You have nothing that bad going on, dude. You're just trying to make it, So I love, again, trying to make the most out of just what was around you. He's hanging out in a swing in your mom's backyard, and he's it's signed like Aubrey, So that's pretty cool. And then there's additional references to people. You get a Lindsay Lohan reference in the project, a Hilary Duff reference, which is great. Icons of the time, but no one could care less what they're doing right now. You get, in one of the songs, you get a Glenn Lewis reference, which, Drake and Hypnotic with Glenn Lewis have been through it. So I don't know who Glenn Lewis is to him, but I think it's great. And again, I love a little Easter egg there that comes back up later down the line. Additionally, we have What's Age the Worst, which there's plenty here because these projects are super dated. They're just tough to listen to. I can't drill it home enough how tough they are to listen to. Being Canadian, it really hasn't improved much since 2006. It's pretty much where it's been, just kind of tough. There's not much going for you. You're just Canadian. So, Drake's really put Toronto on the map. I don't know how much Canada has been put on the map by it. But, he's trying. He's still doing the work. He's doing the Lord's work with it. So I keep plugging away there, bud. This is something that drives me crazy. It's kind of always driven me crazy is, on a lot of these tracks, there's these 20-second talking intros to songs where they're kind of just hyping up the track, letting the beat play. they're just kind of like, all right, we're waiting for the song to start, and like I just want to get into it. Let's just dive in. Intros and outros too. There's like some crazy long outros on these projects, and I'm like, we can get to the next one. Like it's fine. We can wrap it up. So again, that was kind of indicative of the time. You see it a lot on Lil Wayne songs, and Wayne was a god at this point, so I understand where it comes from. But man, I do not support it now at all. On the album itself, there's an intro track, there's an outro track, and there's 4 interludes, which are all just Drake voicemail boxes. So it's just like people leaving in messages, and he puts it on the track, and it's like kind of cute. Like it's nice. Maybe like 2 of them would have been better, but there's 4 of them. So like they're all right. I understand like where he was going with it creatively, artistically, but they don't work for me. They bog down the project so much. They're just, it's tough. So it sounds like someone's calling, and then it's, hey, Aubrey, you the man, blah, 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 my man Drake. And I'm like, all right, this is cool, but it's just wasting my time. So you really could have gotten 23 down to, 23 songs down to 18 and make it tighter, cut a couple of the crap ones, and then you have 15 songs. Like, this is a more, well-rounded, concise project. Like, I can get behind this a little bit more, but it's just, I get it, it's bogged down, but they're just trying to get stuff that sticks. So they're doing their best at the time. The only time the voicemail box ever worked was when on the dial-in on Marvin's Room, which is just like, I don't even have it queued up, but it's, the one I'm talking about, how Marvin's Room opens. I mean, Marvin's Room is an iconic song that I think almost everybody and their mother knows, so I don't have to queue it up. All right, so now we have What's Age the Best, and there's some really, really fun stuff in here at the end of the day, because you got to look at it too. Like, this is the beginning of a loser nobody Drake. Like, Drake isn't Drake yet in these projects, and you got to really kind of respect that, and it helps at the end of the day with context of the album and context of where he's coming from with all this stuff, because you got to understand, you got to start from somewhere, and he started with a lot of nothing, truthfully, and he didn't have much going for him. He was black and Jewish, and he had good marketing, but at the end of the day, he had to do the rest. So I love this line from AM to PM that kind of gives you the feel of that as it's going.
Run the night before at the club, fake ID, my record spin. Got me dancing right outside since these niggas won't let me in. Guess again.
We got hanging outside the club Drake. Like, he can't even get in. Like, Drake is the club now. He doesn't even go to clubs anymore because he's too famous. So I love that, because it kind of grounds you and makes you understand the context of where this album is coming from. What else is Age the Best? Spell rapping. I mean, thematically, it's terrible, and it's tacky, and it's awful, but I love it. So at the end of the day, you got to get with it or you don't. And he does this throughout the chorus on City Is Mine.
It's empty, come get it. Yo, the city is mine. Which one? T-O-R-O-N-T-O-D-R-A-K-E, that's me. You know how the story go. Pull up, range roll, yo, chick, wanna roll. And I'll
this is another good one too, the repeating here.
And I'll make them wanna shake it, drop it, bounce it, whop it, girl. Move that thing like
it's actually bad, but I love it. That's the only thing I can attribute it to. So, maybe you could have, I'll talk about this later too, but people got to have more fun with their production and their albums. Like, everyone takes music to such a serious degree now that no one's really having fun with it anymore. And little elements like this, although they're not like technically the best, they're fun. They keep people engaged. Also, what's really aged the best, and what you see a lot on this, because there's so many bad tracks, right? It's that when you look at the couple of good tracks I mentioned, City Is Mine, Come Winter, the ones I really like, they stand taller on a worse album, right? So the better songs stand up taller when all the other songs are low and crappy, right? So by comparison, they're more elevated. Like, if you stack up City Is Mine to any single now, like The Motion or Over My Dead Body or all these amazing songs, it's not gonna hold up. Like, but that's not the conversation that's had. It's not like it needs to hold up. It just needs to be good for the time. And this is an absolute classic, so it gets a pass in the Hall of Fame of Drake songs. Like we said, there's a couple of themes on this album as well, but there's a couple of songs in here with Make Things Right and Video Girl, and you get a little bit of what Drake does now, which is like telling women how much worth they have and they should have self-worth, and he kind of respects women with some of his lyrics, not all the way through his lyrics, but there's little hints of it of like, you should be better and you know best. And he does this in Video Girl, which is just great, because it's like, at the time especially, you had like rap video girls, and there was a certain kind of aesthetic that went with it and theme to music videos at the time. And he's just out here kind of like preaching the opposite. And here, let's take a listen.
Sometimes, man, you gotta accept the fact that there's times where you gotta better yourself, you know, as a person, man. I love to see my black women strong, single, independent, doing their thing without popping their booty in some rapper's video, you know what I mean? It's a wonderful thing, baby.
It's a wonderful thing.
So, don't hate me.
So that's just what you love to see about young Drake, that respect, the wholesomeness. Like I said, a lot of wholesome aspects on this album. There's a lot of not so wholesome ones, but also, you know, it's all right. I understand where it was all coming from. Also, when we're looking at, there's a song on there called Special. And there's a second part of the song really called Extra Special. And they do something really neat here with a nice interpolation. You're going to see this a lot, again, on future albums where he like samples older work, and 40 loves doing this, where he samples older work and they speed it up, they pitch it around to make it a little different, right? They try to give it a different feel. Let's see if you can spot the sample here, because I really, really like where this song is at with the sample.
Yeah, man. VO. Back again like we never left. Southern smoke.
So that's a nice little sample of Stevie Wonder's My Sherry and More, which is a beautiful song, which I've come to love in the past couple of years. And it's just nice when you can get hints of that. You can see where the inspiration's coming from, you know, clear from his dad's generation of music, which we know has a big musical influence on him. So it's just cool to see that stuff. And, you know, you do a little mix together and you see how it comes together, and it's just a nice thing. So I just wanted to call that out because I thought it was a really, really good addition. We talked about a little bit about this before. With Come Winter, it's one of those first pretty good long verse songs that we would know to come and love and see from Drake, where he just will demolish a whole song. You know, he might have a chorus at the beginning and the end, but a monster verse in the middle. You know, so Come Winter would be one of the first renditions of that we would see to come with maybe The Resistance or Say What's Real or some of the other just ones where he goes to town on them, you know. Again, it has the beat switch up, which we'd see a lot with other stuff. You know, actually, Come Winter probably is more keen with like a come through, where it's got two monster verses with a beat switch up in the middle. But it's the same idea. The other point I'd like to bring out with this is mixtapes in general. They're very fun. You know, they might not be the best, but they're like fun to put together. And, you know, they're kind of less serious, and it gets more music out there for people that are making music, right? You know, I think it's a pretty well documented fact that, you know, when you remix a song, it's inherently better. You know, like an existing song with a beat that people know, it's inherently better. I mean, you can look at some terrible, terrible songs, but they're good because they have a remixed beat, right? So, you know, if you look at even Say What's Real, for example, and we know that's a remix of a Kanye song, you know, would it have been as good if it wasn't an existing Kanye song that was already good, right? So I think mixtapes are more fun projects. They get young rappers out there. You know, if you hop on a song that's well known, you know, you're halfway to catching people's attention. You know, they already know the beat. They want to know how you interpreted the music differently. You know, I was just literally yesterday, the day before I'm recording this pod, I'm on Spotify and I'm looking through Lil Wayne tracks because I wanted to add more to my everyday playlist. And I saw that Sorry for the Wait, which is a Lil Wayne project. It's a mixtape where he just remixes a bunch of songs. He does them his way. And I'm like, and I've loved it. It came out in like 2011, somewhere around there. And I've always loved it, but it's never been on the DSPs because it's a mixtape. It's hard to clear all the samples and do everything that goes along with that. But I looked in yesterday and the whole project is up there. And I'm like, this is amazing. I didn't know this was even possible. I didn't know people were putting mixtapes up on Spotify. So I was really impressed by that. And, you know, it's a fun project. So if you get more of these in play, you might get more bad music, but you get more fun projects. You hear more music from your artists, and it gives artists their own breakout kind of environment, which is really important for new growing music. You know? And if you think back, too, with remixes in general, we need more remixes, man. I mean, remixes are fun. It's like, you get a fresh take on things. You think back to, Take Care comes out in 2011 and we have Marvin's Room. And everybody hopped on Marvin's Room. You had JoJo, you had Lil Wayne, you had Justin Bieber at the time. You had people getting on this song, Chris Brown had a remix. I'm like, why? Like, where did that get lost in the process? I loved that time. You change the beat a little bit, and then it's a sample or an interpolation. And, these are cool things that are just lost with the times. And I wish they weren't, because there's so much possibility out there for new and better music at the end of the day. Okay, and that's a wrap up for Room for Improvement. Now we're going to dive in very much the same way Comeback Season. Comeback Season is going to be a lot of the same kind of narrative that we've already pushed on the first project, because so this is 2006 is the first one. 2007 Comeback Season comes around. So at the end of the day, it's not a drastic change, I'll be honest. But there are some stuff worth pointing out. Pretty much everything I said on this first one will apply to Comeback Season, but, there are some moderate, slight changes. So, but with this project, what you do get, the flow becomes a little more powerful and a little more confident. He's really working through some of the hurdles he had on the first project with what he was trying to accomplish. And he's really trying to do something different, which I really liked. So it's the same, but he's trying to amp up his game a little bit. One of the really big takeaways from this project as well is this is really the beginning of the breakout single for Drake. Where this project doesn't stand on its own very well, but there's a couple of really good songs that he put on here, and that sends him into the limelight, hence sends him into stardom, right? Or the hot new thing, hot new hip hop, and you would see this coming forward, like his singles would be the absolute icons of the album, and he would tease them all up right before the project, and then he'd drop the project and everybody would go bananas. So with this, if we're looking at what type of Drake we got in this project, I would get more of ambitious kind of hustler Drake, because he really has a little more confidence and moxie with it, so he's able to get more across with his content. Okay, now we're going to start up again the way we did the last one with absurd lines. So this first absurd line we have here is on Going In For Life.
The wait's over, the tape's coming, you're bullshitting, but I am equipped with great plumbing, the human mentality.
So this is just bad. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's tacky. It's nobody wants to hear about your plumbing, pal. All right, so just leave it at the door. The next one we got, Don't You Have a Man, which is a good song, but this is not my boy shining at his top capacity.
I don't really wanna hit this girl, until she want the chef stick like Napoleon Dynamite. Well, I'ma give it to you, honey bunches. You feel it all under your ribs like some tummy crunches. All my other girls all up on that subtle shit, they don't wanna.
Like, you don't gotta do that, bud. You don't gotta tell me about the tummy crunches, honey bunches. It's just, it's that Drake type of guy kind of meme. Drake the type of guy to be all up in your tummy like some tummy crunches. Like that's just too much, dude. Like, I love him, and we'll get into this as the episodes go on, but he gets so cringy with some of his content that it really kills me. And we're trying our best here, but that's not my favorite. And the next one we have, the final for the absurd lines category is so we have Underdog featuring Trey Songz. This is a Trey Songz line.
Just cop new shoes, whip on tutus, dick down YouTube, throw it on YouTube. Tell me what you do if I would.
All right, a couple things to break down with there. You can't dick people down and then put it on YouTube. That's not allowed. That's, I think, violate terms of service for the platform. I don't think that's something you can do. He's really trying to go for it, Trey, on this one, I think. But it's just not coming together for him. I don't think this is that one's bad. That one's bad and almost illegal. So I think the Don't You Have a Man Honey Bunches line, that's the absurd. That's the most absurd line. I'm not gonna let that one go on without winning this category, because that's too much for me to bear. So now we have the best lines category. Now here we have actually a couple more options than we did in the last production, because like I said, he refines kind of his flow and his lyrics in this project. Not a ton, but enough to where I can have a couple of selections here. All right, first we have from The Presentation.
I'm telling you, I got enough clout for two. And like a nigga turned blood, I came out the blue. They like, damn, who's Drake? Where's Wheelchair Jimmy at? On my Chris Brown shit, I'm still here.
I mean, you gotta respect any time that he throws in a Degrassi reference. I mean, he doesn't do it a lot. He hadn't done it a lot in his whole career, but he does it here. And I didn't grow up on Degrassi, but I did get into it when I was in college, and I would binge watch it in college. So I would binge watch it in college, and you gotta give that was like a platform for him before he became a rapper. Before he became famous, Degrassi was huge for him, right? And that if he didn't have that, he may not have ever broken through in the way we know today. So you gotta respect the heritage of where Drake has come from.
Who's Drake? Where's wheelchair Jimmy at? On my Chris Brown shit, I'm still here. Give me that.
I love also the Chris Brown reference on that line. It's so good, right? Because it's topical. I mean, the Chris Brown album, Chris Brown, came out in 2005, and it had the bangers, all the classic Chris Brown bangers you would know. His first album, he's got Run It, Excuse Me Miss, and Give Me That come out on that project. So for Drake to hear 2007, this project comes out, and he's keeping it topical. By that time, Chris Brown has certified bangers. Those are what they are. They're bangers. And he throws that in there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, like that just feels good. Chris Brown, not a great reputation. Don't support him as a person, but at that time, he was well-established. Young kid. I think he was like 13 or 14 when that project came out, and he's got the bangers. Next, we have on Best Lines, Closer to My Dreams.
I get a dessert plate, I eat pedigree as your meal. I've been Urkel for some years, it's better be in Jaleel. No, I rock lean.
So awesome song, stands out great on the album. You get the Steve Urkel reference from Family Matters, and it's just good. Like, even if you don't know the show, because I've never seen Family Matters other than like when I was in elementary school. I saw a couple episodes when you're home from school, you catch it during daytime television. But even if you don't know that, you know who Urkel is, and he says better be in Jaleel, meaning Jaleel White, who's the guy who plays Steve Urkel. And I also have another lyric off of this song that I really like.
And that's the realest shit I ever wrote. A compilation of mental thoughts that I never know. And high haters, I'm back off a hiatus. How your album doing? I'm getting cake.
I loved that. High haters, back off a hiatus. It's like it's a quick, witty little line, again, that we would see really come to pass with Drake in general as his time went on. So it's like that cheeky, quick little quip, and to me, it's so simple and so easy, but it's got a nice little rhyme with a back-to-back. I thought it was great, so that's why I came on here for this. Next, we have Replacement Girl.
M-Town to the UK and from Spain back out to Texas. This album for my fans, but yo, this hook is for my exes.
This one is for you, girl.
Trey song?
You know who you are, girl. You only show your face cause you know that I'm a star, girl.
That's just a fun one. I mean, I love Replacement Girl. Again, we'll get into it with best songs and such, but Replacement Girl, absolute banger. This one sent him to the moon after as a hot new artist. But the hook is for my exes is just great because it's like that spiteful kind of little dig that, at some point everybody feels that about an ex where you want to kind of prove them wrong. So everyone can really empathize with that. So I love that lyric so much. Next, we got Going In For Life.
And whenever I'm flowing on the mic, aside from talking about the D, I'm throwing in your wife. I treat this one session as a fit with my last.
Are you kidding me? Like like it goes so wholesome to so aggressive so fast, and I just like that lyric because it's just like catches you off guard with a project like this. So for me, I liked it. It's in there for best lines. That was Going In For Life. Now we got Underdog.
Clown other dudes on the low, I like to laugh alone. I get my cash alone, hence why I shop alone. This here my uncle car, drop it and the top is gone. Your skin look like you.
So this isn't actually in contention for best line. I thought it was just important to kind of call out because this is a great callback into a future Drake song, and it's iconic. And this is on a project that is ass, right? So to have that, and then this feeds into, like, for me, what's like a top 10 Drake song ever. It's so much fun.
Talk to me, then you got to me, then you toss the keys and loan me your car. Yeah, just a young kid in a drop-top Lexus, hoping that I don't get arrested. Just another kid.
I mean, that's iconic. I love that song. Look What You've Done is amazing, and we got this crap-ass song with Trey Songz on the second project ever, and then he brings it up again on his, we'll get into the conversation, but one of his most acclaimed records ever, and it's just so much respect because you don't know this unless you listen to this song, which a lot of people haven't. So it's a great connection, kind of like an honorable mention for the best lines. But if I'm giving a award for best line on this project, it would have to be Probably, it's probably going to be the weird wheelchair Jimmy line. I love that on the presentation. Like, damn, who's Drake? Where's the wheelchair Jimmy at? Like, because wheelchair Jimmy was his character on Degrassi. That's great. That wins. But also as an honorable mention, Closer to My Dreams is really up there because it's got two great lines on it, which is the Urkel for some years, Better Be in Jaleel, and the High Haters Back Off a Hiatus. I love them. I love them both. So that's a photo finish for me, but it's great. Now we get into the guest artist first acknowledgements. We have a couple here, and it's nothing crazy because some of these are remixes, so it's not really a guest artist first when you think about it. But I feel it's important to mention their names. So we have Cardinal Official, which is, yes, that's how you say the name. I'm pretty sure. I'm not Canadian, but I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. But he's a textbook Canadian. I don't know anything about him, truthfully. He's on one song. I don't remember what song it is, but I know it's not that great. And I haven't seen his name since before or since the one Akon song that he did together with him. And it was a banger, don't get me wrong, but Akon was cranking out bangers like 10 a year for a couple of years, and he was in that mix with Cardinal Official. So that's all I really have to say about him. Really not much to write home about. Next we have Trey Songz. Trey Songz is very, very prevalent on this album. He's got a handful of songs that he does with him, as well as a couple of remixes, which obviously he got the permission to do. You got to look at the context for Trey here, though, which is incredible, because he had just released the album Ready, which had a bunch of bangers on it, which became an anthem for the next couple of years, these songs, which was Successful, which Drake did a remix of, Say Ah, I Invented Sex, LOL, Smiley Face, I Need a Girl. Like, this is a banger, like, if there's no other good songs on that album for Trey Songz, then you're good. Like, those are great songs. So he did a great job with those. On the last mixtape, we have Drake remixing Trey Songz songs, and that's it. But on this mixtape, they're doing songs together. So I love to see that growth, and I love to see that building on what was before going into the future. So, yeah. So he also does a remix on this project. He does a remix of Missing You, which is really interesting because he does other songs with him that they actually do together. So I thought that was an interesting little factoid. Missing You is an incredible song. Absolutely. For me, it's more a Drake song than it even is a Trey song, even though Drake has one verse on it. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's great. You need to respect it. And I thought that dichotomy was very interesting with a remix and features on his album. And then there's Lil Wayne is on here as Drake does a remix of Man of the Year. Another great Lil Wayne song. And, Lil Wayne's a god at this point. Really established himself in the game. And this is 2007, so I'm pretty sure this year is when the Carter 3 comes out, which just cemented him as a god going forward. I'm not sure if it's out before or after June of 2008. Okay, so it's not out yet, but still, he's rapping on the door of being an absolute god in the game. And it's just even better because they'd eventually partner together with Young Money. He would become a mentor to Drake and propel his career in such a big way right before Take Care. Right before Thank Me Later. So the best bangers, we already heard Replacement Girl. I told you it's a great song. It slaps hard. There's no way around this song.
Let me show you what it is. I was birthed up top, but was raised at the bottom of the map, where the girls all thick and the hottest nigga rap. If you looking for the good, and we got him in a trap like took it from White Snakes to.
It's a great song. It's very, very good, and it's a photo finish really with that and this other song. We just brought it up, Missing You remix.
I can't stop missing you.
Iconic.
Wish I was still with you. I can't stop missing you. No.
Nah, I never needed advice about all the things you like to do, and it was lights out.
It's just good, man. Like it just slaps. They're both great. If I'm picking one, it's a difficult one. It's probably Missing You, the remix. It's so good. The tempo is great. It's upbeat. You got little Trey songs in there. I'm going Missing You, but Replacement Girl, don't go overlooked. It doesn't. Don't get it twisted with Replacement Girl, because it is really good. This Replacement Girl was the first single that Drake really broke out on. It was. We'll get to this in the What's Age is the Best, but it was a solidifying first springboard for Drake. So it's can't go unnoticed. Low key bangers. I had Faded here and Don't You Have a Man. Go give them a listen. It's a tough one, but Don't You Have a Man is great. It's just a good song. It's fun. It's like a good narrative for a song in general of like what's the deal? Like why you not taking? Like what's the problem? Like why aren't you with me? That kind of thing. It's great. I loved it. So Don't You Have a Man's gonna be our low key banger. Because a lot of these are low key bangers technically. So the best slow kush award goes to there's only one here. It's Closer to My Dreams. It's a fun song. Closer to My Dreams, great song. He references it again. Wide-eyed, uneducated at 19. Listen to Closer to My Dreams. Love the feature of that in the future content. And it's a staple. Like, if you're looking at these projects, it's a staple. It's a standout song. You gotta love it. I'm partial to the tasty slow Drake of the slow kush. That's why I put this category in here. I love the slow, fun Drake songs. So for me, that checks all the boxes, and it's good to go. All right, best non-music things associated with this album. Couple of things to note here. First thing's Peacoat Drake. Iconic look. If you look at the album cover, we got Drake on a nice fall day, peacoat up to the neck, just absolutely slaying it. Like, that was a look. That's the way some people dressed at the time. It was a very kind of like preppy thing that he went for early in his career. If you look at we'll get to Replacement Girl after, but the look he went for, a lot of people did look like that, but he was trying to make it more in the fashionable way. That's what he wanted to be fashionable. He wanted to be this young guy that knew what fashion was, what it looked like, and he was always conscious of it. He still is. So that it was always a big part of his persona was the way he looked, and he thought about it then. Clearly, he kept going. And if you're ever watching content on YouTube, you'll see some different album covers, and there's this one where he's got like a button-down shirt on and like a purple tie, and he's going like this, like, or whatever. That's not the face he makes, and he's going for this like classy gentleman, pretty boy, gangster look, and it's not good by today's standards, but it's solid. Like by then standards, I respect it. It's great. I love it. I'm gonna back it all day. That's pretty much for the best non-music things. What's aged the best in general, right? So if you're looking at what's aged the best, and you're looking at why this stuff is important, because it is. It's not good music generally for the most part, but it's important because you got to look at a couple things where this is really the start of the Noah 40 Drake relationship. We know longtime producing, best friend of Drake. We would not be here without 40 with what they've accomplished and the content they've created. It's incredible. This is really obviously still raw. It's a raw sound for the project, but it's even a testament. Truly incredible to see how far they've come. In all this time, they've both excelled at their craft and gotten better and better. Year to date, they're doing incredible things. So, gotta respect it. So I want to come back to Replacement Girl. Said we'd come back to it. This song was really important, instrumental, really. It was featured on 106 & Park's new joint of the day. And it could really be attributed to his first hit song, truthfully. Couple things to note with it. It was a smash hit. You got to really appreciate Drake's attire in this video because it's actually hilarious. It's got this like slim fit cut peacoat, some baggy jeans, an untucked button down, a skinny tie, and a flat brim hat that was not just backwards, but it was offset to the side. Something you may have seen me wear maybe circa 2009. It's terrible. Don't get me wrong. It is terrible. But it's also the best, and I really can't say it any other way. It's a fun music video. That's a time of primetime music, what music videos look like, and it was just fun. That looks pretty indicative of how some people looked at the time, and I just appreciate it for what it is. What else is aged the best? Trey Songz having a Z at the end of his name. I never ever even thought twice about it. It was like, it's just what it was. It was nothing to think about. It still kind of is. You don't hear a lot from Trey Songz anymore, but it just works. Good for him, because I feel like that could have not worked really that well, and it just did. In the presentation, you see a beat switch up, which I think is aged the best as well. He does it a couple times throughout these first two projects. He switches the beat, and he really plays with it. They test it a lot, because it's not something that you really saw a whole lot. You saw it in some Kanye stuff. Not a big theme in music at the time. So they play with it in these first two projects, and they really perfect it. When Take Care comes around, Nothing Was the Same comes around, come through, like I said. They really crushed these beat switch ups, and I really respect them for it. Really indicative of their producing style, their music style, all that, really impressive, honestly, and I love it. It plays. He still plays it to this day, and I'm gonna keep it going with that. So there's a track on here. It's called "Bitches Crazy," and that's another early look of what we would know today as a singing kind of Drake. You know, we have rapping Drake, we have hype party Drake, we got singing Drake, which he really tried to dial in on "Thank Me Later." It's not good on the song. It's not really particularly great. Nothing to really write home about, but it's just a good glimpse of, again, what's to come. And I know I said that a lot on this episode, but you can't underplay this stuff because there's some stuff that didn't work on this album, and they trashed it, and they kept the good stuff that they wanted to keep going with. And that's how creative process works. You know, I'm a creative myself, and things don't always work well the first time. You know, I've taped like 3 episodes before this, and this is my first one. It's actually gonna go up. You know, so it's a process more than anything. So in that, you just got to chalk up to that same note. What an impressive growth rate for them. You know, from project to project, they're growing, doubling, not even just doubling, they're exponentially growing from project to project, because after this comes out, we get So Far Gone. The next year, no, I'm sorry, this is 2007. So you get So Far Gone a year and a half after this. How do you go from a project like this to getting to So Far Gone, one of the most critically acclaimed bodies of work of the last 20 years, maybe all of hip hop, in a year and a half from this, from three pretty good singles and a bad project mixtape, and you get So Far Gone right after it? Just, they really dialed in. You got to give credit where credit is due. It is impressive. There's no way around it. So, you know, for me, absolutely impressive, impeccable, top notch. Love it, guys. You're the greatest. So here, just to wrap up the episode a little bit, there's a couple of points that I really just want to drive home. It's just, yes, these projects are tough to listen to across the board. I cannot dispute that at all. But it's definitely important to really acknowledge their impact and their value, because, like I said, without these seeds that start, we don't get Drake we had today. And I don't know where I'd be without it, because this has been the soundtrack to my life for the past 15 years. So you really can't understate its importance. You really can't overstate its importance. I'm sorry. Also, when you're looking at projects that are this old, like if you're looking at a project in 2006 and 2007, you really got to understand, when you're listening to the content, you got to understand the time frame it came from. You got to take that into account. You can't have everything at face value. You got to have some levity and some kind of gratitude with it. Not gratitude. You got to have some wiggle room with it, because, one, they're old projects, and they're also not very refined. So you really got to have some grace with it when you're listening, if you choose to listen to this at all, which, again, I wouldn't recommend. It's tough. It's tough. These projects aren't completely hopeless, but at the end of the day, there's a couple palatable songs. And so if you're going to look, based on my recommendations, if you're going to go listen to any, if you're not going to listen to the whole album and you want to listen to a couple on Room for Improvement, definitely go for City Is Mine, Come Winter, and Kick Push. Those are great songs, which is incredible from a first-time artist. And then on Comeback Season, if you want to listen to a couple, here are my recommendations. We have Closer to My Dreams, Replacement Girl, Don't You Have a Man, Missing You, and Man of the Year. And I know some of those are remixes and such, but just good, guys. They're good music. That's, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 9 songs right there that are pretty solid over 2 productions of, at the end of the day, 8 songs out of 48 is not a good hit ratio, but he would dial it in. He knew how to dial it in. He knew how to play the game after this was all said and done. So he was young. He's a young kid. He's 19 when when Comeback Season comes out. He's 19 years old. I can't imagine putting together. So if my math is correct, that means another year and a half later, he's 21, barely 21 when So Far Gone comes out. I'm like, I can't imagine producing something like that when I'm 21. It's impressive. It's incredible. So, and again, this episode was not to hype up these tracks as something that they weren't, but it's still important to acknowledge their importance and kind of commend it as the first stepping stone of the man we all know and love. So that's all I got for today, guys. Really, if you're watching this on social, you can like and comment. If you are watching this on Spotify, please just subscribe to the channel, or YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. And if you want to share with your friends, you're more than welcome. So thanks for sitting with me today, guys. I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.